You guys can see my screen and listen to my voice? Okay, right, good. So we'll start the class now. So yesterday we were looking at the second document called real-time jobs, and in this first we have seen the prerequisites, the first three things that we need to do for a real-time job to run in your system. The first three things we saw them, and after that we had some technical problems which we could not continue the class. So a quick recall on the first three things here. Okay, the first three prerequisites for real-time jobs to run is the repository must be associated with the web administrator, the job server must be present, and SNMP communication adapter should be enabled. The access server must be enabled and running along with the job server. So these are the three things that we have seen. They are good enough. Next one is we will try to create a job. So the scenario here, what we will be doing is we will have two XML files downloaded from the same document. One is postcode request and the second one is postcode reply. So if you look at the structure of the postcode request, it has only the postal code, and the reply will also have the address. Okay, the reply has both the postcode and the address. So now our intention behind this real-time job is to create a real-time job which gets the address from the postcode address and postcode demo tables, the database tables, and it will try to generate the reply file, and we will test this real-time job within the designer. So execution of a real-time job within the data services designer is called testing the real-time job, and executing the real-time job from the management console is called execution. So we will see the differences between testing and executing the real-time job, as well as now once the real-time job is executed from the management console, we see the output as a WSDL. Okay, we see a hyperlink as an output, and you can send that hyperlink to any other person who wants to take it as an input and who wants to retrieve the data from that hyperlink. So generating a hyperlink as a data as a hyperlink using BODS is called provoking a WSDL, and reading the WSDL into the BODS system is called invoking the WSDL. So we will look at both provoking and invoking, means generating and reading the WSDLs from the data services system. So first let us create a real-time job. Okay, right click, go for new real-time job, and as I told you yesterday, this new real-time job, okay, the name is not saved. Alright, so the name of this one is the real-time job starts with RT underscore postcode underscore lookup. So that is the name that we have seen yesterday. So just give me a second, take me to that particular file. Alright, so RT underscore postcode underscore lookup is the real-time job that we will be creating here. So I rename this real-time job. Select this one, press F2 and paste. I rename this real-time job as RT postcode lookup. Then create a data flow and call it as DF underscore postcode underscore LKP lookup. And a real-time job, as I told you yesterday, a real-time job will be automatically created with process begin and step end. So connect this process begin with the data flow and connect it to the step end. So this kind of open braces and end braces will try to interpret or read this data flow in a message format, which is the real-time job format. Now open this postal code data flow and go to your request and make it as message source. So now remember, this is thumb rule number 1 when we are using an XML file in a real-time job. we make it as a message source or message target. So I'm making this one as message source and I'm making reply as the message target because we are using them within the real-time job. Now specify the path from where this particular file is extracted. So let's go up, source XML files and postcode request.xml, and now here you see only the postcode, and specify the path where this reply has to be saved. So if you look at the reply, it has both the postcode and address, and we have to get the address from the postcode demo and postcode address database tables. So just let me copy the name from here, reply, right. Okay, so postcode reply.xml is the file that I'm creating, and I clicked on save. Go back. Now go to the data store, target data store, and select these two tables, demo postcode and demo address. Select the two tables, drag and drop them into the data flow. Now the first intention, what we need to do is, here the postcode DE150LQ is present, DE150LQ. Now we need to get the relevant address from this address table. So the relevant address from for DE150LQ is Ethan Hall and the Garden Cottages. We need to get these two addresses. How do we know that those two are the correct addresses? If you go to the postcode for DE150LQ, the postcode ID is number 2, and here in the address table for number 2, these are the two addresses. So that is the reason when we are creating this job, initially when we are not getting numbers properly assigned to the postcode, I did so many changes so many times to ensure that the right value sits into the right column. Because once those right value sits into the right column, now we can get the relevant addresses here. So I added a query transformation, call it as get address. Now connect this query transformation to all the source tables. The first one is the request file, and the second one is demo postcode address table, and the third one is this one. Alright, so now we are trying to get the address here. So select the address, drag and drop it directly, and you have to provide a proper logic to state that this is the right address for that particular postcode. So what you need to say is the postcode ID of this table, postcode table, is equal to the postcode ID of the address table, and the postcode of this postcode demo postcode table is equal to the postcode of this reply request table or request file. So this is how it compares. For the second postcode ID, it gets the relevant addresses map, and for that number 2 postcode, it compares the postcode with the actual postcode that is coming from the file, and it tries to generate the relevant addresses for the second file. So now we bought the address. Now we have to build the reply. So let us call it as build underscore reply. So just remember, even when you are working in the projects, the naming convention that you specify for your query transformations is quite so important, because as I told you, this transformation you will be using more than 80% in your jobs. The query transformation, you will be using it more than 80% in your jobs, and you have to remember one thing, that if you just drag and drop the query, it will name that as query, query underscore 1, query underscore 2, and so on. But to make your job quite meaningful, you have to add your annotations. Annotations are present here. Annotations are like this ones, the comments that you can give on the code, get, It's very simple. You just need to drag and drop it and say get postcode address from the postcode underscore address table by mapping postcode ID to postcode ID from both tables and mapping the postcode from the reply request file to the demo underscore postcode table. So if you give this kind of annotation, what will happen is this is how it goes in a project. Your project, you created the job in the development environment, now you moved it to the mock environment or in the quality environment. So what happens, some other tester XYZ will try to execute your job, and it is not mandatory that everybody thinks the way we think. So he is trying to execute the job and he is trying to analyze the job in a different way. So looking at this, he might not understand what we are trying to do. He will think that why you have to build the reply when you have the postcode also available here. You can directly drag the postcode and put it here. He might be thinking that way. But when you give this proper annotations, this guy will try to understand, okay, this is the reason why this guy is creating the job like this. So make sure that we use the proper annotations and proper naming conventions for the queries as well. So in some big projects, the annotations and query names are so important that they will raise defects on these annotations and query names. Okay. Now connect this get address to the build reply and connect it directly with the reply file. Now open the build reply and map this postcode to the postcode directly and make it current and map the address to the address. So here when you make it current, see that the front tab is populated with get address, and when you make this one build reply current, okay, so postcode request is more than enough, reply is not required, so you can delete that. So now the job is ready. Save this job. So as I told you, don't forget this thing. Executing a real-time job within Data Services Designer is called testing a real-time job. So now we are just testing. This is not execution. So the job is completed successfully. For one particular postcode, 5 addresses are generated. So now let us go to the output file, XML underscore sources and morning out. Postcode reply is the new file that is generated. Open with, okay, I'll open directly in the web page so that you can see the colorful values there. Now you can open that with the notepad and see as well. Right. So now if you see this one, okay, so if you see this one, D150LQ is the postal code that is coming from the source. The Eaton Hall and the Garden Cottages, these are the 2 addresses that are generated for this particular D150LQ postal code. So now we confirm that the values are correct. So this is how you test the XML files which are generated as an output. Now the thing is that testing is done. Now we will go and see executing the real-time job. So before we go and see how to execute the real-time job, is this clear? Any questions on testing a real-time job? A quick recall, we dragged these 2 files, request and reply, and then we added 2 tables. We got the address from this, get address with a proper where condition. This is mandatory. If not, you will not get a proper address. and then we are trying to build reply. We are trying to build reply in this segment, but not in this segment, because this is a nested segment. So you should have two segments, get address and postcode. And if you just get the postcode from get address here itself, if you get it this way, then both of them will be under the same segment. So we don't want that to happen. So we want both the address and the postcode to be in separate segments. So address and postcode, map it to the reply file, and once you execute this file, the reply file is generated. Now this is testing the real-time job. So now we will see how to execute the real-time job. Going to the management console. Okay, so administrator. So unlike the bad jobs, we'll not go and execute them here. We'll not be doing that here. We will go to the real-time jobs, expand this server name, and go to the real-time services. So once you click on the services, if it is the first time, the service status will be empty, and you need to go to the real-time service configuration tab and click on add. So just remember, we went to the management console, administrator, real-time jobs, real-time services, and real-time service configurations, and click on add. So we need to add the real-time job here. So I call this as morning_service. So now the job name you can browse from which repository you want to create. So our repository is rep_user1, and this is the job. Click on the job, and automatically all the remaining checkboxes and the text boxes and the checkboxes will be populated. Now the service provider, so service configuration, you added the job. Now the second one is service provider. Click on add. Okay, it will show you the local server, and just select the job server and click on enable. This service provider is like if it should be enabled to ensure that your services are up and running on the system. Then click on apply, and now go to the real-time service status, and your morning service is created and it is not started. It is sorry, it is in the yellow color or orange color, whatever you can see from the screen. It says that service initialized, but it is not started. To start the service, go to this checkbox and click on start button. So once you start your service will be started, and this is turned to green color, right? Now you can see this morning service is also turned to green color. Now next step, okay, till now we went to the real-time services, we went to configuration, added a new configuration here, then we came back to the status, selected the status of this one, which is in orange color, and started that. Now you go to the web services, next one, go to the web service configuration, okay. So now here at the bottom, at the drop down, you will have some of these: remove, add bad job, enable session security, disable session security, job attributes, and these things. So out of this, you have to select add the real-time service. So now we have executed that from the real-time jobs from the management console. The service is available here. So select add services and click on apply. Now choose which is your service. Morning service is your service. So click on add, and it's successfully added. You should get this message: web service provider for the real-time service morning_service is successfully added. Now go back to the web services and go to the web services status, and you should be able to see the service, morning service created here. Okay, so your morning service is available, up and running. So click on view WSDL, and this is the hyperlink which has your data encrypted in it. Okay, so this is how you generate the WSDL. So copy this WSDL into some notepad. Okay, so this is the WSDL which you have generated as an output using your real-time jobs. So the output of a real-time job is always WSDL. Okay, so it is generated from the management console. So executing the real-time job happens only from the management console, and the output is generated in the form of a hyperlink, and this hyperlink is provided to the data owners or whoever is in need of this. So when you look at the bank data, so the bank data, what they will do is, since there are a number of transactions and huge volume of money that is present in the bank. So I worked on a project which is called as an RTDG, or real-time data governance, where they don't want any of the information to be saved in the database tables. So all these things, whichever that gets executed, should be present in the cache memory, and the output should be generated as in WSDL, so that they can get this WSDL and read it back into their system. So we worked on a similar, what we call it as a pilot project on this one. So this is how you generate the WSDL. A quick recall: you create a real-time job within your BODS designer, then go to your management console, go to the real-time services, configure your service, start your service, then go to the web services, configure the service that is generated from the real-time tab, and go to the status, and if you find it here available, morning_service, oops, yeah, it is present here, morning service. So you can see the history of that particular service, the history log, who created it, and all these things. You can see the trace and the job got executed and all these things here, the job log, error, and all. So once this everything is done, you need to go to the status tab of the web services and click on the view WSDL, and your hyperlink is generated. So this is how we provoke the WSDL. Now the next step is we need to invoke the WSDL. We created a WSDL, but what about if somebody gives you a hyperlink and say that the data is present in this hyperlink, you can read this data using your data services designer? Then how do we do that? So the simplest answer is we can read the data into the BODS designer using a data store. Okay, so create a new data store to invoke. So I call it as DSWSDL underscore postcode underscore lookup. And now this is not a database type. This is an adapter, because this adapter enables you to communicate with the what you call as web services. And the job server type is JS local, and the instance name is the web service. So remember these four things. You have to give a unique name for the data store. The data store type is not a web service, because you get generally confused by looking at the web service here. It is not a web service, it is an adapter. And the job server is the server on which the SNMP communication is enabled, that is JS local, and the instance name is a web service. And next step, the URL, you have to copy that URL and paste it here. Remember, if you are not able to copy this http://, this will throw an error. So sometimes your browser will not allow you to copy this, because when you see that in the browser, this HTTP will not be present. So make sure that if it is not present, pasted in this document, you have to give it here. Now go to the designer, and in the data store that you are creating for WSDL, you have to paste that web service here. Okay, nothing much. You have to just give that web service here, click on apply and click on OK, and now your data store is created. And if you expand this data store, unlike the other data stores, it doesn't have the tables at all. It just have the functions. So double click on the data store functions, and here you see the real-time services. Expand the real-time service, and your morning service should be present here. Okay, because this data store is created with the help of a hyperlink, and that hyperlink has all these services generated from your system. Just give me a second. Sorry, bad cold due to the travel. Alright, so once your web service is generated, so this hyperlink, whichever it is generated, contains all the services that are present in your system which are generated earlier. So you need to get that hyperlink and give it when you are creating this particular data store, and you have to select the data store type as an adapter, server on which this SNMP communication is enabled, and an instance name as web service, and you have to give the hyperlink here. Click on apply and OK, and once you double click on the functions, it displays this web service here. So this web service is present when you import that web service into the designer. So this is how we import the database tables and all. Once we know the name, we select that table, right click and import. So once you import this one, this service is called as a function into your data services designer. So this web service is now imported as a function, and we will see how to utilize this function and create a file out of this. Create an XML file as an output. Okay, so now our web service is now imported into the system as a function. So next, we'll go through the document to see what has to be done. So it's a very simple step. The first thing is the web service, it's a reply service. So reply has both the postcode and the address. So we need to create a structure which has a particular postcode and hardcode that with D150LQ, and we have to get the address for that. So this is a screenshot for creating the data stores, importing that one. Then next we will create a job. Okay, that is a bad job, and nest underscore data, create a query transformation. Okay, we copy that, paste it, and give D150LQ for that, and what we call new function call. Alright, good. So now let us create a bad job and call this as job underscore invoke underscore lookup. So this job is to invoke the lookup data flow underscore invoke underscore lookup. Right. So now we do not have any source table, we just have a database table, right? So we do not have any, we just have a web service, we do not have any, alright, we do not have any source table here, we just have a web service. So when you don't have any source, just a blind thing that you need to remember is you can use the row generation when you don't have any source. You can use the row generation as a table here, then add a query transformation and call it as get underscore postcode. Okay, so here we have to get the postcode, so and paste it on the schema out. So how do we do it? So go to the data store, open this one. Okay, so this is the postcode request schema. So right click this one, copy this one, go back to the query transformation and paste it. Okay, so we are trying to create a structure here. What I did, I created a query transformation and called it as get postcode, connected with the row generation. On the schema out, go to the data store, open the morning service, this your real-time service, select the particular segment for the postcode, right click, click on copy, go back and paste it so that it gets pasted here. So now make it current and ensure that row generation is there in the from segment, because for every segment there should be a from, and postcode we will hard code that to D1 150 LQ. Okay, I'm giving the value here, the second postcode value, which is the 150 LQ. Then next add one more query transformation, invoke underscore lookup. Alright, next query transformation, invoke lookup. So on the right hand side, go for new function call. Okay, now your data store is available here, the function category, and select your morning service, click on next. Now remember, you cannot do a mapping on node to node level, so you have to do on the parent to parent level. So this request from the get postcode is mapped to the morning service request, and click on finish, and the output structure is available. Now go here, create an XML file, XML underscore postcode data, click on OK, open this one, select the path where you want to save it. Okay, XML underscore data. Now execute this job. This job takes the data from the WSDL and try to populate an XML file. Right, so that is what the design is. Now if you look at this job, the job is successfully completed. Now here we copied the structure and we gave the value D150LQ for that. This particular postcode, we made it as D150LQ. Now in the next query transformation, invoke lookup, we are trying to get the new function call, right? And here we saw this one, postcode, and the function name. Click on next, do a mapping from your get postcode. This is the postcode that you created, and this is the postcode that is available in the service, and once you finish, the structure is available. So connect it with an XML file. So what it does, at the time of execution for DE150LQ, it gets the relevant values of the data from this particular web service, and it tries to generate the output file. So let us go to the XML sources, morning output files, XML data, open with, okay, let me open this directly in the web page. You can open that directly with the notepad as well, but to interpret the data in different colors, it will be good. So now, oops, reply is not getting the address. There's something wrong with this one. One second. Go to the job, go to invoke lookup. modify function call, finish. Address is also present here. 1 second. Okay. New function call, this one. Select the function, click on next, finish. Just let me execute this one more time. Should generate the output as well. So this one is open with notepad. It is not getting the addresses. There's something wrong with the job. The complete postcode is written, not the address. Postcode. Guys, just give me a second. I'll try this. Try this one. It does make a new function call. Okay, just let me try to import one more service that we have created earlier and see that. Okay, it's the recent service underscore PK, and yes, so let me try to utilize this in the job. And lookup, delete, new function call, service TK, finish. That should get the address. Something wrong with, because when we are seeing the WSDL, it is showing the address as well. But now okay, open with the notepad. Okay, I think I need to restart. Generally it produces the address as well, and you should see the output file in this way. You just give the mapping to the just the postcode, and it should give the address like this. It has to give both the addresses copied or called from the WSDL. And this is how we utilize this invoking the WSDL concept. So let's try to rerun the jobs from the first. Real-time job, this one, reply. So just let me rerun this one from the beginning. This job is completed. So if I go to this XML file sources, moving out, reply is created. Open with a notepad. So it has both the addresses. So now we will convert this reply into a web service. Go to the management console. Go to the real-time services. Real-time services, morning service. Browse the job. So repo underscore user. Is that our local repository? db underscore user one. And one second. Let us go to the management. Under the repositories, for db underscore user one. Repo underscore user one is the repository name, so that is correct. Go to this real-time services, configuration, morning service, browse the job, first copies the job, enable, apply. Service is restarted. It is already started. And go to the web service. First, remove this one. Remove the web service underscore morning underscore service. This one. Apply. Successfully removed. Now we'll add the service. Right, good. So we go back to this service status, and we should see this. Okay, click on view WSDL. This is the hyperlink. Go to the data store. Edit this one. Queue the hyperlink. Click on apply. Click on OK. Go to the data flow. Deleting the morning service. Try to re-import that once again. Right, the morning service is not available. Go to the data flow. Go to this one, segment D150. Okay, that's the wrong thing. D150LQ. Okay, I gave the wrong postal code. D150LQ. Now go to this invoke new function call. Okay, morning service. Click on next. Do the mapping. Click on finish. Execute this job. Okay, now go to this one, open this with notepad, and yeah, now if you see, The Eaton Hall and the Garden Cottages. The correct address is available because I gave a wrong postcode. This is D150LQ, but I gave DL150LQ. So that is the reason why we are not able to get this one. So now you got the correct this one. So this is how we create or we read the data from WSDL in the form of a function using the data store, and we create the output as an XML file. So this is how we invoke and provoke a web service using the real-time jobs. Any questions on this? So this is something that you might not be using regularly, but at times, at some situations, all of a sudden, the client will say that this particular data has a lot of financial information in that, and I don't want you guys to have a visibility on that. So is there a masking procedure to handle such sort of data? Then the answer that we give is as yes, we have a procedure and we use the real-time jobs to do that. So this thing, along with this thing, we conclude all the technical topics that were covered so far with our training. So this is the agenda for real-time jobs. Once the real-time jobs are completed, we almost covered each and every technical topic of our data services designer. Now, we will go through two scenarios where we have to understand how we will be utilizing these things that we have learned in an order, so to understand how these projects will start off. Okay, so how to utilize the knowledge that we have learned so far in terms of project. So we have to look at that as well, because just knowing the subject is not important. We have to understand the flow and the process in which we are trying to, or which we'll be going to implement the same things in the project. So today we will look at a little introduction about the project, so how these things will kickstart and all those things. And tomorrow I have to take you through two documents. Okay, today night I am again traveling, so tomorrow night I'll be reaching Bangalore. Tomorrow morning I'll be reaching Bangalore a little late, so tomorrow there is no class. That is Monday morning for me and Sunday night for people in US. So tomorrow there is no class, and we'll continue the classes from day after tomorrow, which is Tuesday morning for me, people in India, and that is Monday night for people in US. Sunday night is a holiday for you guys in US, and Monday morning is a holiday for us in India. So just bear with me, because due to some family reasons I have to travel. Jay, I can send it to you, but I already shared these documents with Prakash, asking him to send it to all the guys from his end. So I think he should have done that, or if not, I'll ask him to do that once again. Jay, I'll ask Prakash to send it, because I shared, yeah, definitely. I shared these documents. Oh, okay. Let me talk to him. Rishabh, I sent you yesterday these two documents. I sent you an email. Let's cross-check your email yesterday. After the class, I sent you these two documents. If not, I'll cross-check and send it to you. It's not a problem. All right, so we'll have a class back on Tuesday, that is Feb 12th morning for IST people, and EST, it is like Monday night. And on Monday night, we will take you through these two documents, AIO. Okay, so this is the naming conventions and the approach that you need to follow in a project, and this is the SAP best practices. So I'll take you through these two documents. First one, it talks about the naming conventions, what are the different standard data stores. Now see, if I talk about this project now, you guys will be able to understand what I am talking about. So standard naming conventions for the data stores. Yeah, Jay, I'll just give a little introduction for the project and we'll call it a day. We are not going to extend this to the next document. I'm just showing this document which we'll be looking at in the next class. So this is a naming convention standard. How do we create the project and all this stuff? So this is document number 1, and document number 2 is SAP best practices, which we'll be looking at tomorrow. Alright, so what we will do is we'll call it a day now. You guys have another 5 minutes time, or we shall call it a day? Another 5 minutes, or we call it a day? Alright. Okay. Alright, so we'll call it a day, and what we'll do is tomorrow in the next class, which is on Tuesday morning for me, and Monday morning for you. All right, I can understand, Rushat. It's Saturday night for you guys. Enjoy. So we'll catch up on in the next class, and we'll discuss about the project. And guys, we'll be using the same link forward for another mostly 2 to 3 classes. 2 classes at the max. We'll be completing the course. So this is the same link. Please follow the same link till we complete the course. Okay. Right. Enjoy your weekend, and have a blessed Sunday, and enjoy, relax, people in India. Take care. Have fun.